Someone's got to do something around here.
I mean, you do more than me, so.
I mean, you cook dinners.
That's true. I do perform the gender required. I can't even finish the joke.
I was gonna say, because then I wash the dishes, and I sweep the floors, and I scoop the cat boxes, and I take the trash out.
Yes. I do the laundry.
You do the laundry. You cook and you do the laundry. And you're usually barefoot when you're in the kitchen.
This is true, but I'm definitely not pregnant.
Thank God.
I was just looking at my notes from last week. Actually, not even. This is from Congo?
Oh God, that was like 2 months ago.
Why is it still there? Clearly, we don't clean well.
It was only 2 episodes ago, wasn't it? Because it was Tim Curry.
Yes.
And then that went to the Tim Curry Three Musketeers, which leads to this brand new episode of Soon to Be a Major Motion Podcast. The podcast where we watch movies that are based on books and read books that were turned into movies. I am Billy Beck.
I am Codie Beck.
And we are your hosts on this adventure through Arthurian chivalrous romance, I guess?
Yes.
Is what we're doing right now?
Sure.
But before we get into that, Codie, how you been?
Been fine. Everything is fine. Nothing is bad.
Same.
So shall we move on?
Shall we? So, last week, we covered the Three Musketeers. And you decided that you didn't want to read 800 pages again.
Correct.
You'd rather read, like, 75.
Yes.
So you got 8 books from the library.
I did, unfortunately.
So that we could cover Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, which was adapted into a motion picture which was released in 2021 entitled The Green Knight.
Indeed.
And that's what we're talking about. Now, you brought something up to me earlier today, that we've been neglecting our duties.
We have been failing to perform one of our bits.
Because I don't look at the notes until later.
Why would you look at the notes when you're recording? We're
I don't know.
professionals.
I don't know. So, Codie.
Yes.
What was your introduction to Sir Gawain and the Green Knight?
So, my freshman year of college, we were required to take something called your freshman seminar. It was supposed to be an introduction to how you research and study and take classes in college. And also kind of like give you an in with like other friends. Except mine was my second semester.
So you already had friends.
Yes.
Mostly me and my friends.
And several of those friends were also theater kids. So it was actually 2 internet friends, Trace and Glax. Only class I ever took with Glax because education and theater didn't overlap much. But I don't remember the name of the class anymore, but it was basically an introduction to epic literature. It was about the hero's journey, but not the hero's journey TM. It was like the evolution of what a hero's journey looked like over time.
Okay.
And so, like, we read Gilgamesh. We did Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. We read one about... That was actually really interesting, and I wish I could remember it, but it was during World War I, Canadian Indigenous folks. It was taking place in the past and during World War I at the same time. It was like the mother and son and their differing experiences, but also how they overlapped.
Did they get into all the war crimes the Canadians were committing?
That World War I, they were committing fewer. But also, I distinctly remember there being a scene where the indigenous man is in the bowel of the ship with all of the horses who are freaking out. And he kills multiple of the horses because they're panicking so much that they've broken their legs. So he straight up just mercy kills a bunch of horses. And it's a really awkward and uncomfortable scene to read.
Yeah, you should have seen how they adapted that in Warhorse. Warhorse. They did not. That is a joke.
But yeah, so that was my introduction to this. It's honestly, surprisingly, as someone who grew up being a big old nerd and always was a reader, I never really got into King Arthur. Like, I feel like as a small child that didn't have friends, there were like a couple of paths you could choose, and there was Egypt, Greek mythology and King Arthur. And I pretty firmly went down the Greek mythology path.
As listeners of our podcast, The Treatment, will know. But also, when we did King Arthur there, that was you.
Yeah, because it's easy, not because, like, I know anything about it.
So you put that on there because it's easy, and then you make fun of me for putting the itsy bitsy spider on the circle.
Yeah, because King Arthur is a story, not a children's rhyme.
What I think is fun is taking those children's rhymes and fleshing them out into full 90-minute tales. It's a starting off point for some original creative thinking.
Fair enough. I did really like what we did with Jack and Jill.
Thank you. Check out The Treatment, a podcast about stories wherever you get your podcast.
So, now that I've blathered on quite a bit about Sir Gawain, what was your introduction to Sir Gawain and the Green Knight? Were you aware that it was a written thing?
No. I was also not a King Arthur kid. I was a NASA autist, I guess. I was a sci-fi kid.
Animorphs.
I love me some Animorphs. I love me, like, space movies and shit. King Arthur, Arthurian legends never really, like, intrigued me. I mean, I saw Monty Python in high school, but that's, like, barely an adaptation of King Arthur.
Yeah. Gets a couple of things right, though.
It does, because you gotta have that framework to build off for your jokes, as our King Arthur episode of The Treatment will.
Is this show just becoming an extended bit where we just shill for The Treatment?
It can. I can do that if you want me to. No, but, yeah, I didn't... If you were to ask me in 2020 or prior to name any knights from the Round Table, I might have gotten 3 out. I probably would have gotten Galahad, Lancelot, and brave Sir Robin.
I probably would have been able to go Bedivere and King Arthur.
Well, because King Arthur's not a knight of King Arthur's Round Table. King Arthur is King Arthur.
I probably also would have said, like, Guinevere and Merlin.
Yeah, Guinevere and Merlin. They're the big names. But I had no idea who Gawain was. And then this little movie comes out in 2021 called The Green Knight, starring Dev Patel. And it's getting real good reviews.
I feel like we saw a trailer for this and I got really hyped.
Yeah, and I didn't know what it was, but it found its way onto my list. I think we've rented it from the library every time we've watched it, and, you know, popped it in and was like, oh, this is incredible. And I think the first time I watched it, you were the one who explained to me that this is explicitly King Arthur, and I've just never heard of Gawain. So that was, yeah, like, my knowledge of this is 5 years old at most.
All right.
But yeah, you wanna watch the trailer to the movie and then we can talk about it?
Yeah, let's watch the trailer.
Let's do it.
Tell me a tale of yourself, so that I might know thee.
I have none to tell.
Yet, you have none to tell yet.
I fear I'm not meant for greatness.
We all fear, but fear can be a gift.
Do not waste this.
Gawain is a drunken fuckboy who thinks he ought to be a knight just because the king is his uncle. One Christmas, the king and Gawain's mother play a game with him in which he can deliver a blow to the titular Green Knight and have it returned a year later. Dumbass cuts off the Green Knight's head and spends the rest of the film terrified of the consequences of his actions.
Not the consequences.
Oh no. Oh Lord, heaven forbid consequences. So, I think the movie is essentially a road trip, like structurally. There's a little bit, it's a little bit more than that in the front, but the back half of the movie is Gawain traveling to an appointment and the things that happen to him along the way. I know that a lot that's in the film is not in the original story. So structurally and content-wise, tell me about Sir Gawain and the Green Knight.
So I'm going to go a little historical because I did actually do a significant amount of research for this.
Holy shit. When you only have 75 pages to read.
Yeah. So this is credited to an unknown author. The only reason we have Sir Gawain and the Green Knight is because a dude in the 1500s had this original manuscript in his collection. And there's even some debate that it's not the original, it's a copy of an even more extensively illustrated original. Generally, people are under the impression that it was written in the late 1300s, and now I'm questioning whether it's 1300s or 13th century, because I read both a lot. I believe it's 1300s.
Okay.
And it basically languished in somebody's private collection, and then basically was re-emerged in the mid 1500s. It was part of a collection of 3 or 4 poems, all attributed to the same author, and it is what's known as an alliterative poem, which is, instead of it rhyming at the end, it uses alliteration at the beginning, which was apparently a really common form of medieval poetry.
Because then you didn't have to think of words that rhymed.
Correct. Although he does still use the rhyme. I literally have a thesis from a woman, which I did not read, I will admit, but I have her thesis, which is on the metrical arrangement of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, and she talks about how this is a combination of multiple forms of poetry, because it ends with the bob and wheel, which is basically 4 rhyming lines that then tie into the next section that she talks about.
Okay.
And I say she because the translator of this version is a woman named Marie Boroff. This was translated in 1967 as part of her fucking thesis. Because she didn't like the other editions that existed, including, fun fact, one translation by Tolkien.
Tolkien translated this?
Yes.
He would have learned Old English just to read poetry.
Not only Old English, but we know, and the reason that we know there are these 4, possibly a 5th poem by the same author, is because the dialect of Middle and Old English that he was using is so specific that we can triangulate where it was located, and it's basically right outside of modern Manchester, is where he was writing.
Oh, Salford.
I literally, when I found that out today, I texted you, I was like, oh no, he was a Mancunian. So, all of that background is to say, this is broken down into 4 parts. And so part 1 is basically the introduction and the setup of what happens for the rest. Part 1 is also a little bit longer than some of the other parts. I think part 3 is the longest, but part 1 is probably the longest besides part 3. So this is the introduction. You get basically the literal introduction to the story that's like, hey, remember when Troy burned? Then a bunch of people came to Britain and King Arthur's real cool and he's our leader now. So it sets up King Arthur, it sets up Sir Gawain and Lady Guinevere, Queen Guinevere, and it also sets up the court and basically the fact that it's Christmas time and New Year's time. Mm-hmm. Green Knight shows up, throws his wager, and actually insults the king, which is important for a reveal in part 4, but he insults the king, so Gawain actually takes the place of King Arthur and cuts off his head, and then, of course, he makes the agreement that he will receive the blow in kind at the end of next year. Part 2 is basically what I would consider the travel montage. Mm-hmm. So it starts with we rush through the rest of the year, and then right before the end of the year, like roughly in November, Sir Gawain heads off to find this place that he doesn't know where it is, and the narrator's like, he had a bunch of adventures. We're going to gloss over those because they're not as important as the adventure with the Green Knight. Like, I'm paraphrasing, but only slightly. And so that's when he shows up and he meets Lord Bertilac, who I'm not sure if he's in the movie or not, but he's the Lord of the Keep that Gawain stays at before he goes to the Green Chapel. Okay. He meets the hot wife and the old lady that hangs out with the hot wife.
Yep, that's all in the film.
Cool. And he makes another deal with this guy that's basically like, hey, I'm going to go hunting. The Lord is like, you know what? I know you're tired. We know exactly where the Green Chapel is. You're going to take this time to rest and relax because it took you a long time to come here. And I'm going to go hunting every day, and I'll give you whatever I win during my hunt, and you give me whatever you win during the day. So then we switch to part 3, which is probably the most interesting part of it, because it takes place over 3 days, and each section is 1 day, and it is the hunt, then the scene in the bedroom between Sir Gawain and the wife, and then the slaughter of whatever they've hunted and the end of the night. And that happens 3 times in a row. So the first day they hunt deer and he kills so many deer, and then basically the lady comes into Gawain's chamber and is like, yo, I want to bone. And he's like, I can't bone you because that would be forswearing my lord. And it's unclear whether he means like the Lord God or the lord whose house he's staying in. But they do mac. Because at the end of the night, he gives the Lord 1 kiss in exchange for the deer that he gets to eat. And then, the next day, it's a boar. And same thing, lady comes in even more explicitly, yo, I want to bone, let's bone. And she's also lightly mocking him for not following courtly romance rules. And he's like, I cannot bone you, that's not cool. And he turns her away again. And then they still mac, so 2 more kisses. And then the third day is where she shows up. I actually have the quote stuck here because she shows up tits out.
Nice.
The lady as love would allow her no rest, in a fair flowing mantle that fell to the earth, all edged and embellished with ermines fine. No hood on her head, but heavy with gems were her fillet and the fret that confined her tresses. Her face and her fair throat freely displayed, her bosom all but bare, and her back as well. She comes in at the chamber door and closes it with care.
So she's wearing like ermine furs that's just covering nip?
Pretty much. It's also debated that by all but bare, she might fully not have clothes on.
Yeah.
So she comes in and she's like, let's fuck. And he finally has to risk offending her and being like, I cannot fuck you. And she's like, cool, take this prize for me then. And she tries to give him a super fancy ring. And he's like, no, I cannot take this from you. And then she's like, okay, fine, take my girdle, which is basically a belt. Mm-hmm. And he is like, I can't take that from you either. And she's like, but it's magic and it'll keep you from dying. And he's like, okay, I'll take the belt. Importantly, he then does not give the belt to Lord Bertilac at the end of the day after the fox hunt, and he instead just gives him the 3 kisses. So then, now we go to part 4, which is going to the chapel, seeing the Green Knight, and basically it being revealed that everything was a ruse, and the lady was set up to seduce him. The Green Knight takes 3 swings at him. First swing, Gawain flinches. Second swing, he doesn't flinch, but the knight checks it. Third swing, he just nicks the side of his neck, and the Green Knight reveals that he knows he's wearing the girdle, and that he cheated on the deal, and reveals that he is in fact Lord Bertilac, and has known the whole time, and this whole thing was a setup by Morgan Le Fay to fuck with Queen Guinevere.
To fuck with Queen Guinevere?
Yes.
Okay, I need details here.
So, it's basically, Morgan really fucking hates Guinevere, and it's not totally clear why. But she wants Guinevere to suffer. There's literal thousands of pages of scholarship on why this is supposed to be a test for her. It kind of ties into the later shit with Lancelot and Guinevere. And ultimately, it is actually Gawain's fault that the Round Table falls apart. Because in the fighting against Lancelot kills Gawain's brothers. And so Gawain encourages King Arthur to keep up the war that eventually kills Gawain and Lancelot, and causes the dissolution of the Kingdom of Arthur.
Okay.
And it's all started because Morgan Le Fay is like, fuck that woman. Again, not completely clear why. Just like, I don't like her.
I mean, sometimes you just don't like a bitch. Mm-hmm. So, interesting. Hearing the actual plot, it seems like the film pretty much hits all of the major beats, and it just fleshes out that second chapter, the travel chapter.
Yeah, which is exactly what I would want from a movie to do.
So what it adds are beats from his travels, basically a few pieces of shenanigans he gets into on the way. First thing is he comes across a battlefield, and there is a scavenger present who's, looting bodies. And he sees this knightly looking man ride in and offers assistance in getting where he's going. And he's like, "Hey man, is my help worth anything to you?" And Gawain is like, "It's worth my thanks." And he rides off. He's like, no. Is this worth anything to you? He tosses him like one coin. So the scavenger's like, "All right, yeah. So if you go over that way, there's a creek that'll go northward, and there's a chapel over there somewhere if you're looking for the Green Chapel." And then, lo and behold, what should happen to our Gawain when he gets over to the creek? But our scavenger and two thieves hog tie him, steal his horse, all his shit, and leave him for dead. He has a vision of himself completely dead, skeletonized, and snaps out of it. Uses his sword, which is laying on the ground over there, to cut himself free. And continues on. He eventually travels, finds a cottage, and he goes inside and has a nap. And then he's woken up in the middle of the night by a young woman who asks what he's doing in her bed. And she explains that her name is Winifred. If you are familiar with Arthurian legend or legends of the time, Saint Winifred is who this is. She explains that she was decapitated and that her head is in the spring next to the cottage. And she would really appreciate it if Gawain could go retrieve her head. And he goes, "Yeah, but what's in it for me?" And she's like, "Why would you ask me that? What the fuck?"
"Sir, my head is in a fountain. I am clearly not in a position to assist you."
He helps, gets the Green Knight's axe back at this point. Because it's one of the things taken from him. The Green Knight at the first Christmas, I think it's New Year's in the poem.
Yes.
Leaves behind the axe, and Gawain returns it when he goes to the chapel. And then the third little bit, there's also a fox that he meets. He sees the fox before the scavenger gets him. He runs into the fox again. He's in a cave sheltering from some weather, and the fox joins him and becomes like a traveling companion. And he happens to be the fox that the Lord captures on the last day of the hunt when Gawain leaves for the chapel. But before they get to the Lord and Lady's house, they do run into some giants.
Sure, as you do.
And I gotta say, if we had a nickel for every time we covered a movie on this podcast that implied that giants live in Scotland, we'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's interesting that it's happened twice. The other being the BFG.
Yes.
Although I believe this takes place in Wales, so...
Yes, it is specifically referencing a forest called Wirral, which was semi-mythological, semi-real, and it's where basically outlaws and thieves lived. It's the equivalent of the Thieves' Forest in Princess Bride.
So maybe the giants don't live in Scotland, maybe they're just going there to visit, but either way, giants up north, apparently that was a thing.
Sure.
But then at this point, he gets to...
Joke about Vikings here.
Yeah, he gets to the Lord. The Lord is not named in the film.
Okay.
In fact, the only characters that are named are Gawain and Essel, his prostitute girlfriend.
Okay.
Everyone else is...
Trope.
The Lord, the Lady, the King, the Queen, the Green Knight. You know, the Scavenger, Thief 1, Thief 2. Like, the cast list is real hard to figure out until you realize there's only like 8 actors in this movie.
So, Sorry, I know I interrupted your summary. The Lord and the Green Knight, are they the same person? Not the same actor, but are they the same person?
So to continue my synopsis. Similar things happen at the Lord. The ladies, gives him the girdle, jerks him off. Yeah. Shot of semen in this movie that you're not expecting, but it's there. And he fucks off, kisses the Lord on the way out. The Lord frees his fox and gets the girdle. Did I say gets the girdle? He gets the girdle from her.
Okay.
Which is the second time he receives this girdle. Hint, hint.
Okay.
Goes to the chapel, waits for the Green Knight to awake. And when he does, first swing, he flinches, says, I'm not ready, I'm not ready. Second one, he flinches again, and then Green Knight's about to take a third one, and he runs away. And he runs back to, I guess, Camelot.
Bravely runs
brave,
away.
brave Sir Gawain. Runs off, back home, sees his girlfriend again. King Arthur dies. He ascends to the throne because he's the king's nephew. And he fucks a baby into Essel and takes the baby and marries some young princess from another country. And they grow old, and he alienates his people, and battles are at his door, and finally his own mother leaves his side, and he removes the girdle, and his head falls from his shoulders. And then he wakes up back at the Green Chapel, takes off the girdle again, and says, now I'm ready.
I do have to say, I watched the end part with you last night.
Yes.
He does ask, because I think it flashes back to the second
Like
one.
when it comes back to it at the end?
Yeah, because he asks, is this all there is?
Oh, yeah, he does.
And the Green Knight says, what else should there be? And that's when he pulls the girdle.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I don't fucking want that.
Thank you for making that point. And the Green Knight gives a little smirk and says, now, off with your head. And that's when credits roll. So it's a much more ambiguous ending. I love the Last Temptation of Christ ending, where you see what his life would be if he doesn't go through with this. And it's actually, like, I think the thesis of the movie is related to that scene.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, too, that there is a basis in the myth for him being the reason that everything fails.
Yeah.
Like, it really feels like the director is pulling from... Director or writer.
Guess what? Same guy.
Well, I couldn't remember, so it feels like he is pulling from that mythic tradition of being like, no, Sir Gawain fucking sucks.
Yeah, it feels like he is. Because Sir Gawain is... he doesn't do anything like... Let me rephrase that. You don't respect him until he says, now I'm ready. And it's his last line of the movie. Which, the bookend, his first line of the movie, I believe, is I'm not ready. And he says that numerous times.
I think it's interesting, too, because he seems real young in the movie. Like, he seems like this is maybe, like, he's 18, 19, 20. Like, he's just freshly become, like, a man and a knight.
Maybe it's because I've seen Dev Patel in film for close to 10 years. Like, I'm like, nah, I have to do it in his 30s. But yeah, he's absolutely playing, like, young 20s. Still living at home with mom.
Because he's already got legends and a reputation in the play, or in the poem.
So there's a point, the first Christmas, he's invited to sit at the king's right hand. And Arthur's basically tells him, like, I'm sorry, I spent so much time with my knights. You are my flesh and blood. I should have, like, had you on my knee when you were a child. Tell us a story. Tell us something about you. And he's like, bro, I got nothing. And the queen is like, yet. So I had a question about how this all starts, how this comes to be. Mm-hmm. You mentioned that, but you already answered it. Morgan Le Fay is the one doing this in order to piss off Guinevere.
Morgan's ultimate goal is to be the rightful ruler of Camelot. Because she feels she's Arthur's half-sister, and she's older, and she feels that she should be the one in power. Because she's also, like, depending on which tradition and version you're reading, she's possibly Fae, possibly Atlantean. Like, there's always an explanation for her magic.
The woman whose last name is Le Fay might be Fae?
Listen. Yes.
Are you telling me that Jimmy the Greek might enjoy a gyro for dinner?
Yes. Listen, I'm just saying what the text says, okay?
I know.
So part of her way of doing that is by, when Arthur obviously succeeds, and, like, obviously Excalibur's not in Sir Gawain, it's not important, but in the overall myth of King Arthur, Excalibur and the scabbard are important to the longevity of King Arthur and the kingdom. And so part of the way that Morgan chips away at the foundation is by fucking with the people closest to King Arthur, which include Gawain and Guinevere and Lancelot and his other knights.
So it sounds like at least some elements of the original poem require knowledge of Arthurian legend, yeah?
Yeah, it's kind of like you can understand what's happening without knowing a lot about it. Like,
so it's like watching Ant-Man.
yeah.
Like, you're getting a whole movie, but to really understand certain elements of it, you need to have seen 6 other movies.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's kind of like watching Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Like, you're mostly following these side characters, but you kind of know what's going on in the broader universe if you've watched the rest of the Avengers.
So here's something that with that context in mind, something that the film does that I fucking love is kind of change around with that motivation. First of all, she's never named as Morgan Le Fay. Second of all, I don't believe Sir Gawain in the poem is her son.
I was going to ask you about that because I still think, from having seen the movie before, she is still doing this and she is still the cause of everything that happens.
Oh, absolutely. She writes like the spell on a fucking letter and seals it and magics it into the Green Knight. Like the whole... I got the vibe watching this time that the Green Knight himself was conjured by her. And this is all just something to fucking...
Test her son.
Test her son, exactly. And I think in closing this whole story just in that, and leaving that to be the motivation, but also having that ambiguous ending of, is he getting his head chopped off? Did he fail this test, or did he pass this test at the end? Like, really makes it chewy, you know? Like, I want to watch it again and really dig into some lines of dialogue and details and know what they're trying to say.
Because, like, he unambiguously fails in the poem.
Mm-hmm.
I think he succeeds in the movie in that he passes the test. I kind of still think he dies. But I think he passes the test in that he reveals the girdle without being prompted. In the poem, the Green Knight calls him out and is like, you don't think I don't recognize the fucking girdle you're wearing? It's the same color as me, you dumbass.
Yeah.
Again, lightly paraphrasing.
Yeah, it's something fun that the movie does with that in mind of it's his mom just trying to get him out the house for a bit.
Failure to launch?
It's basically failure to launch in medieval times. Shake him from his fuckboy times, you know?
Yeah.
And there's elements of it throughout. Like, we watch her casting the spell while Arthur is at the round table on Christmas, begging his knights for a story or a play or a game or something to do, and then she presents it. Which also makes me wonder, do Arthur and Guinevere know this is going to happen? I think Guinevere does. I think she knows exactly what's about to happen. Arthur as well. Because he hands Gawain Excalibur. And empowered by that, he decides to remove the head instead of just, like, nicking a face or something like that.
I was going to say, because the context of the game is whatever blow you deal to me, you will receive in kind when I am holding the sword, basically,
Yeah.
or the axe. So what I've never understood from this is, why did he go for a killing blow? Did he think he could kill this clearly magical foreign creature?
I read it this time as naivety mixed with bravado. Like, I am holding Excalibur, he's showing his neck. I'll kill him. He can't return the blow if he's dead. And then he decapitates the Green Knight, and he says proudly, like, you all remember what you have seen this day. And then the Green Knight picks his head up, and he's like, I'll see you next year. Rides off into the fucking sunset. And then he spends a whole year drinking and going, I'm fucked. I am going to die.
Yeah. I think that's, like, one of the minor differences between the movie and the poem is that because he's more established in the poem, like, he's probably, I want to say, like, mid-30s-ish is the vibe. Like, he's definitely established. He's done some shit at this point. Because he has this reputation for being super, not to make a pun, but super courteous. And so he's the one that steps up when no one else does. He's the one that takes Arthur's place. And he's also the one who's like, all right, time to go face my death. And he's not happy about it, but he's like, I gave my word. I gotta go face my death. And everyone mourns him as he's leaving because they're like, man, you're the best of us. But the rest of the play is kind of like, are you though? I keep saying play instead of poem.
I get what you're saying.
Because another thing that's interesting with all of the different variations and versions is that this text is kind of referencing different versions of Gawain. Because you've got the more British versions, which is kind of like this one, obviously. And then you have the French versions. And kind of as the stories keep getting told, Sir Gawain's character changes. And he becomes more ruthless and more... What's a polite way to say this? More of a fuckboy? And his reputation within the stories changes to more of, oh, I just want to fuck all the time, and I also want to drink. And also he murders some people. Like there's a version where he actually... a guy kills one of his dogs on a hunt, so he decapitates the guy, and also decapitates the wife of the guy for getting in his way. And his punishment is he has to ride back to Camelot with the woman's head around his neck and show it to Queen Guinevere and be like, I fucked up. So this actually, the lady references, like, there's a lot of puns on the word court and courtly and courteous and that kind of thing. So she makes a lot of references to that in terms of, like, the courtly romance rules and how he's not following them. And she expected him to be like this crazy, what's the word for long hair? Fabio.
What?
She expected him to be like this Don Lothario, like Fabio, like, oh, totes, we can bone. But instead, he's kind of like, no, I just keep to my word and I'm like real religious. And she's like, you're not who I thought you were.
I feel like they characterized him completely opposite that in the film. Which might even go hand in hand with what you're saying, like it's building on different versions of him. Because he is just a complete train wreck of a human. There is nothing knightly about him. At one point they reference, just in passing, the 5 virtues of knighthood. They don't say what they are. But in my research today, it lists what the 5 virtues are and the points in the film in which he just completely ignores all 5 of them.
Yep.
And like he acts with cowardice. And it seems like everyone around him is rooting for him. Like, in the year that passes, his story is told via puppet show and via song, to the point that it spreads to the Lord's castle. Now, we can debate whether or not the Lord's manor is real or conjured for this mission. But that's besides the point. Like, there's already myth spreading about him that he feels the need to live up to. And all throughout, as he's going through, right when the Green Knight shows up the first time and Arthur hands him Excalibur, he says, remember, this is only a game. And I think Winifred tells him that the Green Knight is someone you know, which is his own mother. I think the Fox tells him it's only a game. The Green Knight himself at the end reminds him it's only a game, and he like takes it way too seriously. Like it's such an interesting characterization of someone of that age, and it's one I can kind of relate to in a way.
Taking yourself too seriously.
Kind of, but also like trying to live up to hype that's put on you at a young age. Now, this kid is, at least in the film, Arthur's nephew. And he is expected to become a knight. He's expected to act honorably. And he's doing this because he's expected to do this. Mm-hmm. And as somebody who was told at a young age that I was special, and the reasons for that are varied. Basically, one of my parents was told they couldn't have children, so I was considered a miracle. Now, evangelical household, that has a very different connotation. So great things were expected of me. And I didn't want to do great things. I wanted to watch TV and play video games and have friends. But I don't know where I was going with that. But yeah, this characterization of Gawain compared to the poem, it seems completely different, but works really well in this film.
It's very exception proves the rule. I was saying to you last night, like, he's not 100% faithful to the literal text, but the director pulls the themes and manages to get those across so well.
Especially for a modern audience.
Yeah.
Because I want to say the movie we saw this trailer in front of might have been The Tragedy of Macbeth.
I believe so.
Which is a very similar visual style, but it's written completely in, it's Shakespeare's words. And that can be a slog to hear. Check out our Titus episode. And what was the other? Did we do another Shakespeare or did we just do Titus?
I think we've just done Titus.
Yeah, check out our Titus episode for my thoughts on acting Shakespeare. But it's not easy to do. And it can be difficult for an audience to grasp what's going on for a bit. And then if you front load it with exposition, you miss a lot of shit.
As Shakespeare famously does.
But what Lowry did with this film is the dialogue is like, it sounds of the era, but it's still like really well acted and modern in ways that makes it super easy for the audience to understand what's going on.
So I'm going to ask two leading questions. So because of what you just brought up with like evangelical household and upbringing, the author goes out of his way in the text to talk about how Gawain has the pentacle on his shield. And he compares the pentacle to the 5 virtues of knighthood and the 5 wounds of Christ and the 5 virtues of Mary. So he goes out of his way to, like, it's like 50 lines where he's talking about what the pentacle means and how important it is, and he kind of hand waves it as like, everyone knows this, and all of the modern scholarship is like literally nothing else ever existed that talks about the pentacle in this way. So he's very clearly trying to toe this line between the paganism of the story and the Christianity that he was writing in. And so my question is, what kind of myth, and I'm using myth to include religion here, do you think the director and writer, do you think he's intentionally using some Christian imagery in this, or do you think that he's kind of avoiding it? And I'm going to add a second point here. Do you think the fact that you've got Morgan Le Fay character and you've got the Gawain character, and they are both not white in this world? And I get that Essel is also not, like, she's not dressed to look white the same way that everybody else in the court is, but I'm pretty sure the actress is white.
She is.
But do you think the fact that they are othered by their skin color, do you think that was intentional on the part of the director?
So, you asked 2 pretty different questions there. I'm going to address the second first. The intent was to cast a white man to play Gawain. And it wasn't until he saw Dev Patel as modeling, I can't remember for what company, that he realized, oh man, like, he may not look it, but there is something regal about this guy.
This man is pathetic and I can use him.
But also, I can't imagine a better actor to be cast in that role.
He's so fucking good.
He's absolutely incredible in that role. In the text of the film, nothing is ever spoken of their race. The only read into the racial element that I put was that when Morgan Le Fay is conjuring the Green Knight, everyone around her also seems to be of Indian descent.
Okay.
And I guess something could be read into Arthur's regret at not spending time with Gawain was due to racism, but that's not like in the text. That's just like,
I'm just thinking,
there's almost nothing there about him being of a darker complexion.
I'm just thinking, like, ultimately the director did make that choice to cast him in 2020, because this would have been filming in 2020.
They shot it in 2019.
Was it shot in 2019? Okay.
It was slated for, it was supposed to come out at South by 2020, which I believe got canceled.
Okay.
So they pushed it back almost a year.
Okay. So in that case, maybe the context of 2020 is a little, but still, watching it post 2020, it feels intentional in a way that it may not have at the time. It
does, but like I absolutely love when movies do that. And I try to do that occasionally with The Treatment, just cast a black actor somewhere.
Yeah,
because like we may not explicitly put something into a story about race, but representation is fucking important.
Yep.
And no, England in that era was not 100% white. It never has been and it never will be.
To refer to your representation point, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, one of the tributes was an actress with Down syndrome, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Does that matter to the overall story?
Fucking
no.
Nope. Well, it matters a little bit in that anyone is at risk, but that, if anything, that enhances the story.
Exactly.
Casting an actor with some sort of... I think they had some actors with limb differences as well cast in that film, if I recall.
Yeah, I believe you're correct. I haven't seen it, so...
Which is great. Like, do more of that. And the fact that we're having a discussion about it now, whether or not anything was intended by that casting, other than he looks like he could do it, and he could fucking do it, there are elements of the story that we can relate to differently because of that casting choice. And I love when movies do that.
Exactly.
Now, the first question you had asked me.
Yes.
About religion.
Yes. The religious imagery or lack thereof.
So, I'm not 100% sure he was trying to make a point about religion, but there's a scene when he's with the Lord and Lady at their manors, like the first or second night he's there, in which the lady has an incredible monologue about the Green Knight and the color green and what that represents. And in my research, I did see it noted that she references the color red as the color of lust, but it's also implied that that's like part of the religious element of it. And her whole monologue, the whole point of this speech that she makes is that in the end, nature still wins. Eventually, the grass will come through your cobblestone. No matter how often you scrub it out, it will eventually take over. The earth will consume all that man lays upon it eventually. And green is the color of earth. It's the color of life. And I think that's kind of the only depth that gets into it. Gawain does mention that he skips like Christmas Mass and stuff like that. Like that's part of his character, but I didn't necessarily read too much into pro or anti any version of Christianity besides like those minor elements in that one monologue. I may be completely missing something as well, but
I mean, also there's that common thing that people say, the red thing, nature red in tooth and claw.
Yeah.
So you've got red and green, which are also Christmas colors.
Yeah.
Tying in.
We should have done this in December.
But yeah, I was just curious because, like, so much of, like, the relationships, all of the relationships that Gawain has, he is overall described as this, like, saintly man. And even he, when it comes time for him to be martyred and do, like, the ultimate thing and follow up with his words, he can't do it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of that same idea of, like, nature taking over, and the nature is like, life doesn't want to end.
The nature of self-preservation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why ultimately the Green Knight pardons him, because he's like, you just didn't want to die. That's perfectly acceptable. That's not a failure. And then Gawain goes on this ridiculous rant that's basically, like, Eve blaming. Because it's like, women are temptresses, and I wish I'd never met a woman. And I think he references Bathsheba at some point as well as this seductress. And he just goes on this, like, wild rant where he's like, women control the destinies of men, and I should never have tried to not have my destiny controlled by a woman. And he, like, angrily throws the girdle away.
It's interesting that that's not in the film, considering it's his own mother that is pulling the strings in this whole situation.
And that's why it's like, there is, one of the essays that I read today was basically like a feminist take on Gawain, because it's like all of the other scholars look, and I didn't double check the version of this, I think it was 2020, because the person who was writing the introduction referenced that the translator had just passed away.
Oof.
But all of the other writers to that point had mostly focused on the male-male relationships and kind of were like, women aren't important. And she's like, no. Look at the text. The text is saying that Morgan Le Fay illustrated all of this in a power struggle with Guinevere.
Yeah.
This is about the women behind the scenes pulling the strings. So yes, Gawain is right. He's just being a dick about it.
And that's like, so Guinevere is the one who says, you haven't done anything yet. Mm-hmm. His own mother, her sister-in-law, is pulling the strings. Essel is Essel in the...
No.
Okay, so she's just for the film.
Yeah.
Like, Essel is, like, sends him with a token, and, like, he thinks about her, and he, like, in moments of struggle, he pulls out the bell that she gives him and holds it, which eventually gets stolen by the lady who gives him the girdle back. And one of the thieves even is a woman. The giant that approaches him, like, he begs a giant for help traveling, and then she reaches over to grab him to, like, help, and he reacts in fright, and she's like, all right, fuck you then, and fucks off.
Do you think it would be a correct interpretation to say that Essel is the fox, or that they play the same role?
I haven't thought too deeply about the fox. Other than, like, I guess I assumed that the fox was his mom helping him out. But also there's that scene where, before he gets on the boat to go to the chapel, the fox actually speaks to him and says, no, turn around, don't do this. Only death is that way. Go home, survive, it's fine. And I feel like he fails the test if he leaves, but also him not listening to his companion, his friend, is one of the 5 knightly virtues that he breaks in that moment. So it's like a really complicated scene that I still haven't fully wrapped my head around what that means or what that was intended to mean.
In the poem, it's a servant of the house that has that speech to him that's basically like, this is as far as we go. I will tell everyone you went into the chapel. I will tell them that you faced the Green Knight. You can run away and I will not tell anyone.
He's not alone?
When he goes into the chapel, he is. But up to that point where he's walking, where he's being guided to the chapel, it's by a servant who knows where it is.
Oh, he is completely alone once he leaves town.
Oh, no.
It's just him and his horse and his shit. And he loses his horse pretty quick.
So this is just at the end that he's being guided to the chapel. This isn't
the servant of the Lord.
Yeah.
Oh, even then when he leaves the manor, it's again just him.
Yeah, no, he's being
him
led.
And the fox.
Yeah, he's being led by it's a dude instead of the fox in the poem, because I think it's the same thing. It's very like it feels very Satan in the Garden of Gethsemane. Is that what it's called?
Sure.
Gethsemane, whatever.
Gethsemane, yeah.
Yeah, it's very that where he's like, hey, I could save you. Like, you don't have to do this.
Yeah.
And Gawain's like, no, I must.
Very, very Jesus in the desert.
Yeah.
Interesting. So the other thing I wanted to talk about thematically is the concept of honor and what that means. Now, in the poem, he is already a knight, correct?
Yes. He is already, by his own power, seated at the high table with King Arthur.
Right. So another thing that I like that the movie did to, I guess, isolate it from the rest of the myth and that it allows the movie to stand alone is that he dresses like a knight, he rides on a horse, but every time someone interacts with him, they realize, you're not a knight. You're just a dude, huh? And it's not until he basically tells the Green Knight at the end that he's ready that he's referred to as a knight. That's when the Green Knight says, I think he calls him like my brave little knight in that final scene. So in the same section of the film as the color green monologue, he has a conversation with the Lord in which the Lord asks, why are you doing this? And his response is, honor? And the Lord says, are you asking me? He's like, no, honor. He's like, and this act will bring you honor. Like, he doesn't even fully know why he's doing what he does, but he knows what he's supposed to say. And as an ex-evangelical, that is super relatable. Especially an autistic one, because like, oh, I know what the correct answer is in this situation, but it's not right.
I feel like you would have been a great Catholic.
Oh, no, honey. No, I would have been a suicide at 16. No.
I'm just thinking there's all the ritual and it's just sentences. You just have to remember the sentences.
Oh, no.
And be filled with guilt, which you are. So
Yeah, I'm already filled with guilt. Imagine being told that I have to be filled with guilt. No. But yeah, the whole point I'm making with the honor thing is he thinks he's doing this to bring honor to himself, but what he fails to understand, and this goes back to his naivety. I don't even know how to pronounce that word. Naivete? Whatever. He's naive. So he thinks that going there and doing it will bring him honor, but all throughout the film, he does not act honorably. He asks Winifred for payment for retrieving her head from the spring. He lets that man's wife jerk him off. He runs like a bitch from the Green Knight the first time. He does not act with honor, and he still thinks this is going to bring him honor. It's such an interesting, like, core element to this film that I'm wondering how that's expressed, if at all, in the poem.
So that's kind of what his scenes with the lady are, is because he's towing the line between behaving honorably, but he's juxtaposed between two different meanings of that. Because you have courtly love, which is basically this kind of, like, yearning desire that's never really consummated, but you can consummate it under certain contexts. It's kind of like from Three Musketeers, you have the lady that he actually loves, and then you have the poor little servant girl that he bones to shut her up. D'Artagnan.
Yeah, that wasn't in the version I watched, remember?
Correct. But it's that same kind of context where, like, he has to toe the line between accepting a certain amount of the lady's advances so he doesn't offend her, but also not crossing the line of committing adultery, which is a sin. And that's both a sin against, God, Lord, and also the Lord of the house, because he knows this is his wife. And that's kind of like, when you get to the final scene where he accepts the girdle, a lot of the scholarship says that he doesn't realize at that point that he has besmirched his reputation just by accepting the girdle, because that is essentially, there's a lot of like subtext and symbolism around the girdle, but at that point it's basically sex. He is accepting sex from her without accepting literal sex from her. Mm-hmm. And so he's already committed that. And then he follows it up by, in the poem, he goes to confession, but doesn't confess about the girdle. And then he later goes to the meeting at night and just doesn't tell the Lord about the girdle, because he's like, no, I want to keep it.
So the girdle.
Yes.
In the film, it is given to him before he leaves by his mother. And she explains to him, while you wear this, you will not be struck down. And I guess that's not true, because he does get robbed of that girdle.
He does, but he doesn't die.
No, he doesn't die, but he does get robbed, and they take pretty much everything from him. And then when he gets to the lords, the lady, who is played by the same actress who plays Essel,
okay,
says that she knitted it herself, and she's giving it to him.
Okay.
So going back to my theory that everything he encounters on the way was put there by his mom.
Yeah.
And he just fails every minor test.
He just trips and stumbles. It's like when you fail the cutscenes and
he just bumble kings his way all the way to the Green Chapel.
Yeah. He behaves honorably up until the point where he accepts the girdle. But at that point, he's already pissed off the lady by not accepting her advances.
Yeah.
So he's already kind of broken that first contract. And then, once he accepts the girdle, his fate is basically sealed. And it's interesting because that's the one that's juxtaposed with the fox hunt. And of course, foxes are known as being wily and sly and sneaky. And the author points that out multiple times. Because, like, the deer, it's basically just like, there's so many of them, we just get all of them, and they're all fat, and we're all happy. And then with the boar is so powerful and strong and courageous, and he stands up against all of our attacks and actually takes some of us out. And then you get to the fox. And the fox is outnumbered and outgunned by the dogs and the people that are chasing him, but he escapes for almost as long as the boar does because he's fast and he's smart and he's cunning. And when you're watching this, when you're reading this, you get the sense of there's just strings being pulled around Gawain, and it's like you're pulling the trap, and the net is closing around him, and he doesn't see it.
Yeah. There's a lot of every character's trying to warn him, and he just does not get it.
He just always picks the wrong option.
Yeah.
In the movie, at least. In the poem, he doesn't until he has that one fatal wrong choice. And I think that's where the movie's more interesting with him being an idiot.
Yeah, just an absolute, and we've used this word a lot, but I can't think of a better word to describe him than fuckboy.
Yeah, he just running around, doesn't know what's happening, picking the wrong dialogue option every time.
Yep. Basically, yeah. He is failing this Western RPG. He's gonna get the bad ending. Well, he gets the bad ending, then he reloads an old save and he gets the good ending.
The good ending is death?
Yeah. Or maybe. I don't know. We don't see the good ending.
I do actually want to talk about the scene in the movie of seeing his life play out. Mm-hmm. Because I think it's devastating. Especially the scene with Essel. Because Essel genuinely loves him.
Yeah.
It is so clear that she genuinely cares about this stupid fucking idiot.
They have a wonderful scene before he leaves where she's like, when you're a knight, what if I would like it if you asked me to be your lady and I can sit by you, and he just says nothing. And she's like, what you're supposed to say is, yes, I would love to have you by my side and to be with me and be my partner and all. And he just never fucking says it. And he really does just see her as a prostitute. Because
there's the scene later after he's king, mm-hmm. Where she's having the baby, and his mom is there, and his mom is treating Essel kindly, and, like, she's holding the baby, and men come in and take the baby from Essel, and he basically throws coins at her feet. And it's very clear, like, this is what you're worth to me. And that, the end of that scene is her, freshly postpartum, screaming and struggling towards the door because they've just stolen her child.
Yeah.
Alternatively,
Her child, which dies in a war.
And then, you brought up earlier how Arthur was like, you should have been at my knee when you were a boy. He doesn't make that mistake with his son, but he still makes a mistake. Because when his son is playing in the throne room, he, like, pulls on the tapestry or runs into the table or something and fucks up the war plans. And he knows that he's fucked up. But he's probably, like, 5'7".
5'7", what a tall child.
And then he comes over and he extends a hand to his son and lifts him up. And then it smash cuts to his son dying in a battle.
Yeah.
Because he still made the wrong choice.
Yeah.
He's so good at always making the wrong choice.
It's such a fascinating ending too, because it takes him his like whole life to realize none of the things I did were the right thing to do, and he just tries to butterfly effect himself. Like, all right, I'll go back to this point and I'll die then, and that'll at least be better for the people I care about. And I think that's like when it finally clicks with him how to grow up and be an adult.
I do also think it's interesting that the child later, not the boy child with Essel, but the child that he has legitimately is a girl.
Mm-hmm. Played by his actual daughter, Dev Patel's actual daughter.
I didn't realize he had a daughter.
He has two.
Oh!
And they both played younger, they played versions of his daughter. Or his daughters in the film.
Yeah, so that struck me as interesting, is that his illegitimate heir is a boy and his legitimate heir is a girl.
Yep. And that lovely post-credit scene of the little girl putting on the crown.
Yes. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about that scene because I think it's fucking brilliant.
It's such a good scene.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of mad that he almost certainly ripped that off Last Temptation of Christ.
God damn it.
So he, in this situation, is the writer and director of this film, David Lowery.
Yes.
Now on the trailer and on the DVD case, it says from acclaimed director David Lowery. He won I think he won an award at Cannes for a movie I've never heard of.
Hey, that's still a claim.
It's a claim.
It's just one. It's one claim.
The movies he did that I have heard of are the Disney remake of Pete's Dragon.
Oh, okay.
And the more recent Disney Plus film, Peter Pan and Wendy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But he's made a handful of films. Those are the only two I'd even heard of, which says something. Gawain, as we said, played by Dev Patel, who got his start with Slumdog Millionaire. Have you seen Slumdog Millionaire?
No, but I'm familiar with the conceit.
Do you know what the $1 million question is?
No.
Now, granted, I haven't seen it since it came out, but I believe the $1 million question is, which of these four was not one of the three musketeers? Athos, Porthos, Aramis, or D'Artagnan?
Incredible. I thought with that you were going to reference the fucking flashbacks.
No. No.
Because he has flash forwards in this movie.
He has flashbacks that he was referred to, like he and his buddies when he was growing up were referred to as Athos, Porthos, and Aramis, which is how he knows that question. That's a great movie. We should watch. I mean, I loved it when I saw it. I don't know how well it holds up, but I do want to rewatch it because I love the conceit of that movie. And he's incredible in it. Dev Patel's a great actor. Essel and the lady were played by Alicia Vikander, who was in Ex Machina and the 2005, was it, Anna Karenina? Or 2012, 11?
Something like that.
I don't know, something like that. The Lord was played by Joel Edgerton, who you may remember from 2013's The Great Gatsby, where he played Tom Buchanan. Or The Boys in the Boat, where he played Ulbrichtsen. Or mayhaps the 2004 film King Arthur, in which he played Gawain.
Perfect. I love little shit like that.
Oh, me too. Morgan Le Fay was played by Sarita Choudhury. She was in Hunger Games Mockingjay Parts 1 and 2 as Agiria.
I know her face, but I don't know who that is.
I didn't recognize the name. I was hoping you would.
I remember I see her in my head in the film, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember either. She was also in Lady in the Water.
She has that kind of little spooky vibe.
Yeah, she's fucking great in this movie. King Arthur was played by Sean Harris. He was in the 2015 film Macbeth, in which he played Macduff.
Okay.
And he was also in the movie Prometheus, not the one we did on The Treatment, a podcast about stories available wherever you get your podcast, but the
Prometheus School of Running Away from Things.
The one where they run straight in the path of the rolling wheel and not a few feet to the side where one's questioned. That Prometheus. Queen Guinevere was played by Kate Dickie, who was also in Prometheus. And you may know her from Game of Thrones, where she played Lisa Arryn.
Yes, I do know her.
And finally, the Green Knight himself was played by Ralph Ineson, who was in The Tragedy of Macbeth as the captain.
Oh, okay.
And Ready Player One as as Rick.
Don't remind me.
David Lowery. I showed you a few pictures of him.
You sure did.
Listening at home, go to his Wikipedia page and look at this man.
That mustache has secrets. I'm pretty sure that mustache is what made this movie.
What gave him the idea to make this movie?
Was his mustache.
No. He was in his backyard making a diorama out of his Willow figurines.
Wait. Willow like the show?
Willow like the 1988 movie.
Oh my god. Sir, please be less stereotypical. You're so white.
I'm gonna play with my toys until an idea comes to me. While writing the script, he did not intend for Morgan Le Fay to also be Gawain's mother, but he figured that would be a way to introduce her into the narrative more natural. Mm-hmm. He included the story of St. Winifred because the mention of the holy head in the original poem.
Okay.
The highway robbery scene, when he gets got by the thieves, was inspired by Kubrick's Barry Lyndon, and that battlefield was inspired by the Battle of Badon, or Badon, B-A-D-O-N. I don't know how that's pronounced.
I also don't know.
They used 0 digital visual effects for the scene with the Green Knight at the round table.
Okay.
And this is something that Lowery wanted to do throughout this film. A lot of 90s and 2000s style matte paintings to extend sets, physical sets.
It feels it.
But with modern cameras, and you don't have that, like, too clean glow like Three Musketeers had. Oh my god, this movie is fucking gorgeous.
It feels ethereal, and I think it's that mix of physical and digital.
Yeah. But basically for that scene, they had Ralph Ineson in prosthetics on set, usually, like, on a box to make him look bigger.
Yeah.
They tried having him on a real horse, but that horse was in heat that day, and things were not going to go well, so they put him on a fakie. But besides that, like, they wanted him in set in prosthetics, and got the great prosthetics. It looks incredible. It sells it. It's real. They did use digital effects in the scene, and while Gawain is waiting for the Green Knight to wake up. And I did not catch this, because I have partial face blindness. But apparently they digitally altered the Green Knight's face while he's sleeping to appear to look like different characters that Gawain has met on his journey.
Oh, I thought it was going to be, when he first opens his eyes, it's clearly a face in prosthetic, and then later it's just a face. Or it's one or the other.
Yeah. I believe that's what you saw, was they were just slightly altering his face to look more like King Arthur or the Lord.
That's interesting. I like that.
The benefit of having Morgan Le Fay be Gawain's mom is that David Lowery was able to draw from his own experiences with his own mother in her trying to get him out of the fucking house.
Leave! Take your toys and go!
Yeah, get your own backyard to play with your Willow figures. I'll make my own backyard with blackjack and hookers. Except the blackjack is the Green Knight, and the hookers are the hookers in the Green Knight. Which, Essel, you mentioned earlier that she was, like, coded to not look white.
Yeah.
All of her costumes involved bells, which in the setting, were required for prostitutes to warn people that prostitutes were nearby because they were dirty. It's also the reason why her hair was chopped short, was for misplaced ideas about cleanliness and prostitution. Last bit I mentioned before, it was supposed to debut at South by in 2020. Delayed it 6 months. He spent that 6 months editing the film. He was not happy with the original cut, and COVID may have saved this movie.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. He was not satisfied until it debuted in 2021.
one of the rare instances where it didn't get overcooked in the edit.
No, gave him just a little bit more time to. It's something when you have no deadline, you're gonna overcook something. If your deadline's too tight, you're gonna undercook stuff. But he was able to, like, COVID gave him an approachable deadline in which he was able to get the film done.
He had a deadline, and then, just kidding, you get a surprise extension.
Okay, cool. I will fix all the things I wish I had time to fix before.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the movie he made, if we're going to get into that part of the podcast, fucking incredible.
It's so good.
It is gorgeous to look at. The use of color in frame, like when he's approaching the Green Knights, the Green Chapel, and the air is yellow with just pollen and life, and like the whole screen glows yellow, and there are entire shots which look black and white except for they're all one color. Like, there's so much gorgeous cinematography in this, camera moves, the use of title cards throughout just to like illustrate different chapter breaks and different beats of the story. The acting, the performances, Alicia Vikander as both the lady and Essel shines. Her monologue is incredible. Dev Patel, I can't speak enough great words about what he did to play this role in this movie. He's just absolutely perfect to do it. And even all the minor characters and their little beats, just old-ass Arthur and Guinevere in their shaky voices, but they speak with such gravitas. It's just a wonderful, wonderful movie. I fucking love it. What did you think of the poem?
I'm a Shakespeare girly. I will always love the way that Shakespeare plays with language. Because I'm more used to reading that, it was a bit of a struggle for me to read this. Just because I'm not used to, like, I'm not Beowulf, I'm not Chaucer. They've never been, like, my forte. Mm-hmm. It's enjoyable, but I found it much more enjoyable, weirdly, reading it with the context around it, which the context is more dense than the play itself.
Yeah.
Or the poem itself. But it's like, depending on which version you're reading, it's anywhere from 68 to 75 pages. It's not long. The scenes in part 3, where it's the hunt and the seduction juxtaposed, incredible. I didn't dislike it. I enjoyed reading it with the context of, like, with stuff like this, with works like this, I enjoy going in with a mindset and, like, going in thinking, okay, this is what I'm looking at, and I want to see how well it performs at X. And in this case, I went into it like, okay, how well does it tell the story of a man failing? Mm-hmm. And how well does it tell the story of a man trying his best and still his best is not enough, and that cripples him? And in that context, it was pretty enjoyable.
Now, we know very little about the person who wrote it. You kept using the pronouns he, him to refer to the author.
Yes.
Is it possible it was written by a woman?
In theory, but it is highly unlikely.
Okay.
The general accepted idea of the author is that it was probably a monk, because the person had to be extremely highly educated and conversant with court customs. So it was more than likely someone who lived at a monastery, but also had access to a court. So in the era of the 1300s, it was very likely going to be a man.
Fair enough. I just felt the need to put that out there into the world.
I appreciate it. I do actually want to tell you 2 quick fun facts.
Oh, please do.
First fun fact. I mentioned Beowulf. The same person who saved this manuscript is the reason we have Beowulf, because he also saved the manuscript of Beowulf in the same library.
Amazing.
And then second, in my research and various research into the different versions of Gawain, did you know that there is a version of Gawain that is Shrek?
I'm sorry?
Well, he's not Shrek per se, but his wife is Fiona. He marries a woman who is known as the ugliest woman in the world because he does it out of duty to Arthur. And when he marries her, she is super ugly, and she's like, hey, so this is what's going to happen. I am going to be ugly for 12 hours a day, and I'm going to be the most beautiful woman in the world for the other 12 hours of the day. You get to decide whether I'm ugly during the day, so I'm hot at night when we bone, or if I'm hot during the day so I'm presentable and then you don't want to bone me at night because I'm super old and ugly. His answer is to say, you should choose because you're the one that suffers. And that cures her, and she becomes the most beautiful woman in the world.
Yeah, this version of Gawain ain't doing that. This version of Gawain's like, I'm only going to see you after dark, so...
But yes, I thought that was a cute little story. And definitely not the version of Gawain in this movie.
No.
So yeah, those are my little fun facts in my research.
I like those little fun facts. So next time out, we have yet to decide what we're doing next.
We have yet, you are correct. We've dropped like 17 things in this.
I was literally about to say, 3 have been mentioned that I think we could move on to. We could either continue with this style of literature and do Beowulf.
I've actually never read Beowulf.
I have, but I haven't... No, I have seen. Mark will get mad if I say I haven't. I know it's been on at his apartment in college before, but I have seen that, like, shit Angelina Jolie Beowulf.
Hell yeah.
Which would be the one that we would do.
Of course.
We could go off the rip-off third act and do The Last Temptation of Christ. Or Shrek.
Oh my god. Okay. You know how we're going to decide this?
Oh, no.
We are going to decide it by whatever has the least weight at the library.
Last Temptation of Christ it is.
I mean, we do have Last Temptation of Christ.
Oh, look. Last Temptation of Christ.
Nah. I mean, I do kind of want to pull off the Band-Aid.
Just get it done.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we should wait till Easter to do Last Temptation. And Beowulf, I'm sure, is in the public domain, so now's your last chance to switch.
Let's do Beowulf.
Beowulf? Okay.
Beowulf.
We'll do Temptation at Easter.
Yeah. So now I get to put back all 8 of my books that I took out on Arthurian legend and get to take out all of the scholarship on Beowulf. Hopefully I don't get somebody's fucking thesis.
I get to watch a bad cartoon.
Yay! Is the whole thing cartoon or
It's that, like, era of that mocap animation.
Oh.
Yeah.
You know, that wasn't bad in the Keanu Reeves one.
Are you talking about Scanner Darkly?
Yeah.
That was rotoscoping. That was a different technology.
Ah.
This is that era of that weird Christmas Carol.
Oh, God.
We should do Christmas Carol one Christmas.
We should.
I think Polar Express was that kind of animation, and, like, Beowulf, weirdly enough, and none of them were good from what I recall, but I guess we're going to revisit Beowulf.
Yeah, I don't remember hearing anything good about the Angelina Jolie Beowulf.
Fun.
We should also find a way to do Clash of the Titans. Mostly because I want you to suffer.
So next time out is Beowulf. Until then, in the description on this podcast is our link tree. From there you can find our social media accounts, our Ko-Fi account, and our email address. Please send us suggestions, complaints, anything like that to the email.
Clearly we need suggestions considering we were about to start rolling dice.
Yeah, I thought you were going to grab dice. Before then you gave me an out and said, wait at the library. You can also donate to our Ko-Fi. All proceeds from that will go to paying podcast hosting feeds and eventually maybe getting better microphones and equipment, but that's not like a source of income for us. That is just keeping this train a-rolling.
So if you like listening to us...
If you're listening to us on YouTube, like, subscribe, leave a comment. Oh my god, I feel gross just saying that.
I watched, like, age happen.
Oh, you just watched the light leave my eyes.
Yeah, that's been gone for a long time.
Yeah, since our wedding day.
Oh, I stole your innocence.
9 years ago. I don't think this one comes... This one does not come out on our anniversary, but the next treatment does.
I was gonna say, it's fitting we're doing a love story.
This is not a love story.
Doesn't he fuck the monster?
Oh, and Beowulf?
Yeah.
I don't fucking know.
Oh.
No, that comes out after our anniversary.
Am I confusing Gilgamesh?
You might be. I think, but regardless, the one that comes out on our anniversary, I think is Jack and Jill for the treatment.
Neat.
Which is also not a love story.
We're so good at this.
I'm just going to edit there. I said all the things I need to say. Fuck it.